And one of the things I've noticed in the United Kingdom is they have a terrible problem emanating from their mass immigration, which is called rape gangs, or as they call them over there, grooming gangs. And these gangs don't do rape in terms of snatching someone in an alley, raping them and running off. It's a combination of undermining and exploiting vulnerable children and teens, tricking them, trapping them with things as simple as a drink of beer or even a candy or a ride in a BMW, and soon sexualizing that and exploiting them over the course of months and years. Sometimes every single night, these girls are raped again and again. They're blackmailed and extorted, and they're children. They're children. It's an absolutely terrible thing. We've talked about it many times on the show before. We've talked about the city of Rotherham, about 100,000 citizens where 1,400 girls were systematically raped again and again and again. 1,400 in a city of just 100,000. Keir Starmer, the new British Prime Minister since July, used to be the chief prosecutor in the UK. So he would be very familiar with these things, but there's new questions about whether or not Keir Starmer turned a blind eye to these rape gangs because they are overwhelmingly perpetrated by Muslim Pakistani men in the UK. The victims are overwhelmingly white working class girls. The perpetrators are overwhelmingly Pakistani men. You can see that would be a problem for someone as woke as Keir Starmer. And so it turns out that Elon Musk is a booster, I'd even say a fan of Tommy Robinson. And in the past week, Elon Musk has probably made 100 tweets about the United Kingdom, about Rotherham, about the rape gangs, and indeed even about Tommy Robinson. As you know, Tommy Robinson was sentenced to prison for 18 months. He'll serve 9 for contempt of court for publishing a video that touches on mass immigration to the UK. That video was published on X, on Twitter, and the judge ordered Tommy not to do so. He did so in the face of the order, and so he was sentenced to jail for contempt of court. I was in the courtroom in the UK when Tommy had that sentence. We were, of course, crowdfunding his lawyers. And at the time, he had around 55 or 60 million views. I should tell you that since Elon Musk retweeted that banned video itself, last time I checked, it had more than 140 million views of Tommy Robinson's video. Just astonishing. And I saw that. So I wrote a letter to Elon Musk and I posted it on Twitter, just trying to give some background to the story. And incredibly, he saw that and he retweeted my letter. Elon Musk retweeted my letter. And again, last time I checked, my little letter to Elon Musk has been seen 41 million times. That's actually the exact population of Canada, including children and babies. Obviously, it's not just Canadians, people around the world. Let me read to you what I wrote to Elon Musk, and I sort of wrote it on my phone when I wasn't supposed to be driving at the time, so I wasn't. But like I was in the middle of things. I wrote this thing. If only I knew it would be seen 41 million times, I would have caught the typo that made it through. Let me read to you my letter to Elon Musk about Tommy Robinson that Elon Musk then retweeted. Take a look. Dear Elon Musk, the way to free Tommy Robinson is through legal action. While he's in prison, he's asked me to help with 2 urgent battles. Permit me to describe them for you and all your followers. Number 1, Tommy was sentenced to 18 months in prison for publishing that documentary you just retweeted. The judge specifically referred to Twitter X and the video's wide distribution when giving out the sentence. Tommy will likely be released in 9 months, but in the meantime, he is being held in segregation, solitary confinement. No man can do 9 months of solitary without major mental health damage. It's a form of torture, like what was done to Julian Assange. Remember, contempt of court in this case is a civil offense, not a crime. It's outrageous and unprecedented that he be held in solitary, which is usually reserved for short-term punishments of violent prisoners who misbehave in prison. We have hired a lawyer who is an expert in prison law to challenge the way he is being held. We just received the reply from the prison governor refusing to move Tommy from solitary, saying that he must stay there because of, quote, the polarizing nature of his ideology. And then I linked to where people, including Elon Musk, could, if they want, read the letter. I wrote, we are moving quickly to appeal that prison governor's decision in a judicial review. And then I talked about another crazy thing, and I know this is a long letter, but I'm going to read a little bit more of it, and 41 million people saw it, so maybe it's less boring than I think. Number 2, while Tommy is in prison, he is being charged with a bogus, trumped-up charge under the Terrorism Act, a UK version of the Patriot Act. Obviously, Tommy is not a terrorist, and police told him as much when they arrested him. They're just using that extreme law to subject Tommy to questioning that he legally cannot refuse under the Act, and to search his phone without a warrant, as is also permitted in the Act. Tommy refused to give police the password to his cell phone without a warrant. He had both legal and journalistic confidences in it. So they're prosecuting him for that, too. For each of these two battles, we need both a solicitor and a barrister. They're different people in the UK. So we're crowdfunding 4 different lawyers. Frankly, we need help. Tommy is being debanked and deplatformed, so Tommy asked me in Rebel News to crowdfund his lawyers for him, which we're doing at SaveTommy.com. I took the opportunity to mention it. They really are throwing the unlimited resources of the state against him, not for a crime, but for a political and journalistic disagreement. I don't think he'll be able to change the mind of Keir Starmer, the authoritarian prime minister who used to be the UK's chief prosecutor. But if you could help direct attention toward our legal crowdfund, I think we have a reasonable chance to get him into a more sensible prison for the rest of his sentence and to swat down the bogus Terrorism Act charge. Thanks, Ezra Levant. Now, you have surely heard all those points before because I've told them to you in monologues, and I've told them to you when I'm in the court in the UK, and I've told them to you after I visited Tommy in prison. But 41 million people had not heard that before, and I think a lot of people just realized, oh my gosh, what's going on in the UK? Of those 41 million, of course, a swath of them are Brits, but a lot of them are people around the world who, like me, love the UK and are saying, what is going on over there? Since then, Musk has tweeted many other stories from the UK, including our friend Lord Pearson of Rannoch, who had this spicy video that Elon Musk liked enough to retweet. Here, take a look.
But accept that if we extrapolate nationally, the Jay report on Rotherham and other reports on Telford and Oxford, there appear to have been upwards of 250,000 young white girls raped in this century, very largely by Muslim men. And given these girls are usually raped several times a day for years, so, my lords, what is the government's answer to the Chief Constable of Northumbria, who has just said that there is every likelihood that these grooming gangs are operating in every one of our major cities? So, my lords, what is the government doing to prosecute those in authority who turned a blind eye to all this because they were afraid of being Islamophobic and so on? And what is it doing to compensate and help these victims mentally?
My lords, I really refute the fact that the government is turning a blind eye to those in authority. Sorry, that those in authority are turning a blind eye to this. Noble lords from across the House have outlined the various child sexual abuse perpetrations in various parts of the country. And, my lords, one thing we can say above all else is what these people target is vulnerability. It's not specific to race, creed or colour, it's vulnerability.
He's tweeted other Tommy Robinson videos. It's like he's going back through Tommy Robinson's feed. He's also retweeted stories about rape gangs from other media, including more prestigious media. Musk has even got a little bit more particular, a little bit more specific, retweeting calls for different cabinet ministers to be fired. He's even called on the King of the United Kingdom, King Charles, he's also our king, to call an election, sort of to prorogue the British Parliament. I don't think that's going to happen. There was just an election in the UK in July. But he's talking tough, and it's very interesting to see the pressure that a man who owns the world's largest politically oriented social media, Facebook is bigger, but Twitter feels really political. It really is the town square for politics. To direct that force against the UK government is fascinating to see. It's also a challenge for the opposition parties there. As you may know, the Conservative Party of the UK just elected a new leader, Kemi Badenoch, and she's excellent on certain issues, but she's scared of Tommy Robinson, as all British politicians are, because he's so spicy. They call him far right. And even Nigel Farage, of the Reform UK party. I like Nigel an enormous amount. He's afraid of Tommy Robinson too. So here you have Elon Musk, just a bull in the china shop, and he's pushing for the normalization of someone who the political elites have denormalized. Here's Nigel Farage today when being pressed on the question. Elon Musk supports Reform UK. He also supports Tommy Robinson. How do you square the difference? Here's how Nigel Farage answered.
That the party pooper could be the person who may be your biggest saviour a week ago, Elon Musk. You called him a bloody hero on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
You said you were expecting a reasonably sized donation. Do you still think that? He's saying remarks now attacking Britain, supporting Tommy Robinson. Is he now political kryptonite to you?
Well, he's attacking the leadership of Britain. I mean, he's saying Britain's been terribly badly led, and that the grooming scandal, the mass rape scandal, which has resurfaced, and transcripts of what was said in court have been online, and I recommend you at home don't read them. You won't sleep at night. And so, yes, he is attacking the leadership in Britain. He's very supportive of me. He's very supportive of the party. He sees Robinson as one of these people that fought against the grooming gangs. But of course the truth is Tommy Robinson's in prison, not for that, but for contempt of court for the third occasion. But I mean, equally, there are people in Britain who think that Robinson is a political prisoner. That's the narrative that he's pushed out. That's how he earns his living, but it isn't quite true.
Would you accept Robinson as a member of your party? You quit UKIP over the association with him last time.
No. Look, Robinson has been to prison many, many times for many, many things. Mortgage fraud, passport problems, you name it. He's got his own campaign. We are a political party aiming to win the next general election. He's not what we need.
Musk comments, though, about Keir Starmer as DPP, about Jess Phillips. These are angry remarks on Twitter. These are your MP colleagues in Parliament. I mean, how will you face these people when you go to Parliament? These are a guy you're backing is making.
I'm sorry. For Jess Phillips to say there's no need for a public inquiry, there really is.
So you're backing one?
There really is. And then for Kemi Badenoch to say there must be a public inquiry when the government she served in refused to give us one, just about sums up where British politics is. It is a uni party. There is little to choose between Labour and Conservatives. I want a full public inquiry with the glare of publicity. People need to understand the extent of what went wrong in so many towns and cities across our country.
I don't know Nigel Farage well enough. I don't have a personal relationship with him, but I've followed him very closely ever since his triumph in the Brexit movement. He was the leader of the UKIP party that succeeded in getting the UK out of the European Union. And then I saw Nigel Farage fight against the big banks and being deplatformed. I have deep admiration for Nigel Farage. But it's clear that I think he's afraid of Tommy Robinson. I mean, what he said there about Tommy being convicted for contempt of court, well, it's true, of course. But the three things that got Tommy into trouble were not violence or some random thing. It was talking about massive, largely Islamic immigration. All three of his instances of contempt of court were for talking about these things. So you can't just simply say, oh, he's a serial convict. Well, yeah, three of those convictions were for contempt of court on his journalism. But I think that Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson would have a lot of overlap, but it's simply such political correctness over there, and the cancel culture is so strong that if either Nigel Farage or Kemi Badenoch were to show any affection to Tommy or his ideas, they would be completely renounced and expelled by the political establishment.